So this I don't know. This could be super stupid, but Star Doom dies, and I'm
Yeah.
like, if I pop overclock here, it lets him get back. That feels bad saying it, but if I don't pop overclock, we just like
My mentality is whenever things turn from like 5v5 to becomes 4v5, right? There's like two schools of thought where it's like you either go all the way out and just like full reset, right? Or you go all the way in and you just like die on cart, right? Like you do one or the other. There's no in between. And I think both are like reasonable options. So like in this circumstance here on the VOD, you know, you just lost your Doomfist and you're thinking, hey, if I pop this ultimate, you know, maybe I can hold space. Maybe I could just in push forward and just die. Maybe I could disengage fully with my team and just, you know, reset for next fight. But I guess going back to the paint here is it's like, I do think that there's an in between, and it's a really, really hard thing to do, but it's very, very powerful. So here's what I like to do. I like to find somewhere in between where you're not like actually fighting and you're not actually disengaging. You're giving up space. So what you're doing is you're kind of disengaging, but you're disengaging with the intention, and this is really important, with the intention of punishing mistakes. Give me an example of how you'd use that in this circumstance here. So just, I know I'm not streaming it. I'm not streaming it, but like just picture it in your head. Like what would you do?
in that situation, my Doom dies.
Yeah.
I'd slide back to like my back high ground,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't pop overclock, but I'd be ready if the Zen just like runs forward or the Soldier
Right.
runs forward and
Right.
like LOS no cover. Then I'd use it.
Right. So like let's say that
But
they try to chase a little bit too hard. Maybe there's somebody, because you got to remember where the robot was. The robot was all the way across the map, right? So like let's say their Junkrat or Soldier dropped to push robot, and then the other four or the other three push way forward. Hey, we got to pick. Let's push. But they're forgetting they left somebody on cart. And so now all of a sudden you guys had a man disadvantage, but now you don't have a man disadvantage. Or like, let's say they're like, oh, we push with 5, we just run forward, and they ignore the fact that they're running out into open space to get to your high ground, right? And now all of a sudden, yes, you had a man disadvantage, but you have cover, you have high ground, they're just sitting on the floor. Now you pop the ultimate.
okay.
So what you do is you kind of, going back to like our paint here, you kind of lay a trap for them because they have an advantage that is objectively true, but they may overestimate how much of an advantage they actually have and over push. Do you see what I'm saying? They might push out of cover. They might ignore high ground. They also thing I might keep in mind as well, like they use cooldowns to kill your Doomfist. Yes. So maybe you guys still have cooldowns that they do not have, right? So that they could be like, oh, we have a mana advantage, but they actually have a cooldown advantage. The team with 4. And people forget that. Mm-hmm. And also ults, like maybe they use an ultimate or maybe they don't have any ultimates and you do. Case in point, you're overclock here, right? So I think one of the best things you can do is like if you're at a disadvantage or if you're at an advantage, let's say you're at a 5v4, push slowly, push carefully. I made a video about this like months ago, right? But if you're on the flip side of it here, do give up space. You do need to back up. But be ready to turn the tables there. If you still have cooldowns, if you still have health, if you still have a good corner or a good cover or a good high ground, because people will overextend, and those are situations where a 4v5 can all of a sudden turn into a 4v0, which happens all the time. I mean, you know what's actually funny is I think some of the more successful nano blades occur after somebody on your team has died. Because let's say your tank engages in, forces all their CDs, the enemy team goes, oh, we can push now, and then they have no cooldowns, they have no space, and they walk right into a nano blade. That happens all the time. But I guess that definitely applies here. So I guess actual application here. So in this situation here, why is this overclock bad? I wouldn't say it's bad,
but yeah, it's just there's no circumstance in which I get a kill here.
Right. Like, are they actually pushing?
No, they haven't done anything.
They haven't really done anything. They've gotten a pick and they've been entirely static. So what would you be looking for? Like you said, okay, let's slide back to high ground. But like let's just say you didn't slide back to high ground. What would you be waiting for to pop this overclock positionally from them?
Just this souls, like they're gonna kill, so their Junkrat's gonna whatever cussing in, their Soldier's gonna sprint, you know, their Lifeweaver dashes. You're
waiting for the bat to drop or the Soldier to push on an angle or the Junkrat to walk to here, right? Any of those circumstances, like any of those green flags, and all of a sudden this becomes a lot more real. So for what you did it for, it's kind of weird that he popped Life of Roll, I'm not gonna lie, but we take it. For what you said that you were doing this for, which is to wait for Doomfist, it's doing the job, right? But obviously I don't think that's necessarily worth it here.